Welcome back, everyone. This is Austin here at 2FBC Tactical. Very excited to talk about a pretty rare firearm, actually. Um, it just showed up at our shop. Very cool, and I'm excited to show it to you. This is a French Berthier rifle, but made by Remington Arms Company here in the United States. So let's dive into this today. All right, guys, we're going to dive in on this Remington Arms made 1907-15 Berthier rifle. And yes, that is the Remington Arms Company that makes the 870 pump and the 1100, the one that you and I know and love today. They were contracted by the French to produce rifles during World War I. But before we dive into that, please like, comment, subscribe. If you want to support the channel, that's the easiest way to do it. It's free. Head over to Rumble, give it a thumbs up, help our channel grow. We're very excited. We've got a bunch of new followers. Shout out to all of you. We're bringing you news. We're trying to continue this From the Vault series on all these historical firearms. We love to do that. So again, thanks to all of you. If you want to head over to Patreon and do a subscription, you're more than welcome to. Everything helps. We're very thankful to each and every one of you. Now, diving into the French Berthier rifle. As you'll see behind me, I have another one right up there. That is a Saint Etienne made 1907-15 rifle. That is an M16 rifle, and we'll talk a little bit about the differences between this one and that one here in a minute. But when we back up in time, we're going to the early, or excuse me, I should back way up to the late 19th century, 1886 to be precise. There's a thing that happens in the 1880s, and that's called smokeless powder. If you have watched our previous videos, we talked a little bit about it on our Winchester journey that we were just doing. So smokeless powder comes out and kind of changes the game and the velocities and what you can do with your ammunition. But that does mean that many rifles, including military rifles at the time, were instantly obsolete. If you want to take like the Vettorelli, for instance, that came out, that is kind of instantly out of date. So France came up with their 1886 Berthier rifle that was designed by Emile Berthier. And if you speak French, I am sure I'm mispronouncing that, and I do apologize to any French listeners I have. Now, he came up with this, what he called the Berthier 1886 rifle. It was a tubular fed, very similar to, say, like the Winchesters we just did. It had a tubular magazine, and it was one of the first smokeless powder military issued rifles, chambered in 8mm Lebel. Now, this is going to sound really strange to say in today's world, but the truth is, up until the 1960s or so, the French were at the forefront of firearm manufacturing and design. They were one of the best in the world, actually. And I know you look at me and you will say, well, that's laughable. Maybe in today's world, they have fallen behind in terms of their personal the development of firearms. However, back then, they were really pushing the bar of what could be done. So this 1886 rifle is made, and again, for its time, very, very good. However, there was some drawbacks. Namely, that tubular magazine was very slow to reload. Now, you fast forward a little bit to World War I in 1915. And the French realized we're going to have to take a look at this rifle and find an easier way to produce them that's way cheaper and faster. All the intricate pieces of the tubular magazine and the way that one was built, we kind of need to slim this down. And then the other thing we need to do is we need to make it so that we can be on par with our counterparts from Germany. So Germany is using the Gewehr 88 bolt action rifle or the Gewehr 98, which of course we have the K98 right here. It should be a later iteration of that, which is a bolt-action rifle with an internal 5-round magazine, stripper clip fed. So very quick to load, especially by those standards. Magazines are not a thing yet. Detachable magazines, I should say, it's for the most part, it's internal magazines, tubular magazines. We're not really seeing detachable magazines yet on rifles. That would come later. So the French and Berthier took a look at the current rifle, the 86, and said, what could we do to make this a little faster? So the first thing he did is he just completely eliminated the tube magazine. He's like, it doesn't make any sense. We're going to get rid of this tube magazine. It's too slow to load. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a stripper clip fed idea, but I'm going to make it better. So he created an in-block clip, which I have right here with some 8mm Berthier rounds, that would, when you open the rifle, and you would insert it, and when it was empty, it would actually shoot out the bottom to let you know it's empty and be ready for the next clip to be loaded, to make it very quick. So this was very quickly adopted, and the French were like, this is fantastic, a lot easier to make, a lot quicker to make, a lot cheaper to make, plus the reloading speed is just quadruple because all I have to do is keep shoving clips in. They keep coming out the bottom when they're empty, right? That's the idea. So there was a drawback, though, to this, that the troops very quickly actually came back and said, hey, we like the overall rifle, but, you know, our counterparts, the Germans, have 5 rounds. This 1907-15 has 3. And that's where the M16 update would come. So the gun I have behind me right here, as you can see, has a little bit more of an extended magazine. It is still keeping that clip design, but it has 5 rounds, kind of putting it in that same category as its German counterparts of the era. So that is something that would be updated off this gun even during war. Quick pause in the video, guys, to give a shout out to our channel sponsor, Patriot Mobile. Now, I've personally been a member of Patriot Mobile for several years now. Everyone is using a cell phone these days. So the question is, why not support someone who supports you, who stands up for the rights that you and I hold dear? And Patriot Mobile puts their money where their mouth is by donating a portion of every dollar they make to the causes that you and I hold dear. They use the same 5G networks that every other major provider uses. You're not sacrificing service. You're supporting a company that will support you. They're going to give our listeners a special discount. Using the code SHALLNOT and clicking the link down below, you will get a free month when you switch to Patriot Mobile. With that, let's get back to the video. Now, when it comes to this particular gun, a Remington Arms made Berthier rifle, the French were in desperate need of guns. You know, Germany's invaded. The lines of World War I were predominantly fought in France. The front lines, if you will, the no man's land, all the horrors of World War I happened for the most part inside the French countryside. Their factories were under constant duress. And also the military-age male, the factory worker many times, is on the front lines fighting. They had very limited industrial capacity to build guns during wartime when under that constant threat. The United States, we would not enter the war until later, in 1916. So in the beginning, we're kind of out of it. It was like, we're not involved in the war. You know, we're not sending anybody overseas, but we're more than happy to make rifles or guns for you for the war effort if you just pay us for it, right? And that's where you would see, you know, like Eddie Stone and others make the pattern 14 infield for the British, and of course that would eventually be recalibrated and adopted by the United States. We have one of those that we will talk about in the near future here, and then they came to the French and was like, hey, you know what? We'll make your Berthier rifles for you. Remington did. We'll make them for you, no problems. We'll send them to you. You pay us for it, no problem. There is a little bit of a catch there, though. So, you know, Remington made all these guns kind of under a promise of like, we'll pay you as long as you deliver the rifles. So they delivered the first batch, and then the French ended up just canceling the contract, saying, you know what, actually, we don't need it. And that left Remington with about 10,000 of these that they didn't know what to do with. Well, they decided, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to sell this on the commercial market. We're just going to get rid of it. Let's just get these out the door. You know, we're stuck with these French guns that were supposed to be for warfare. And by the time the United States entered the fray, you know, we had our 30-06 cartridge for the 1903 and the pattern 17 infield that was being made at the time. We weren't looking to add another one in 8mm Lebel. So no one was really interested in these, and they just sold these on the open commercial market with varying degrees of success. Obviously, it is a French cartridge. Is not as readily available to the average consumer at the time. They were tougher sells. One of the reasons why these things do not have serial numbers on them is because, again, this is made as part of that contract. They were going to ship these things overseas and be done with it, all part of that batch, and the French ended up canceling the contract. So they're kind of stuck with them. Now, the differences between the M16 and this 1907-15 is minimal to the magazine size and capacity. When it comes to the bayonet mounting, it is the same. This bayonet there is a circular receiver that this bayonet would clip onto right here in the back. You have a button you just depress that releases the bayonet. The bayonet is going to look somewhat similar to what you guys will be familiar with on the modern AK. It is one of those star bayonets. It has a very sharp point on the end, and this is so you cannot suture a wound if you have to use it. So we got to remember that these guns are existing in the transitionary period between mechanized and horseback warfare. World War I still saw a lot of actual cavalry, the way that we think of cavalry from, say, the Civil War here in the United States. It saw a lot of that. The tank was not really utilized in ways that like we use today until World War II. Rommel and, of course, Erwin Rommel, I should say, and George Patton, kind of pioneered how tank warfare works by just replacing the horse with the tank. That would be borne out later in World War I, as then Colonel Patton goes over to Europe and sees the French tanks and kind of devises on how to use them to break through lines. But still in the forefront of weapon manufacturers' minds, they're thinking of guys on horses. This is important because the reason why this bayonet is so long is so that if you were on the ground or in the trench, you could reach up to someone on a horse. That is the idea. That's still in the manufacturer's minds. You'll see up here near the top too, I'm going to flip this guy around. You'll see this kind of rod and nub right here. Now, that is not what you would think it would be. For most of us who haven't seen anything like this before, you go, well, hang on, that looks like where you mount your bayonet to. That is not. That is actually so you could stack your rifles in kind of a TP shape. So when you were not using it, if you were in, say, the back of the line or you were just taking a rest, the infantry would actually stack their rifles like so, and they would interlock. They would interlock their rifles together here so that they would stand up on their own. That is what that is for. Now, the M-block clip, we would see, it's not, I should back up, the M-block clip is not invented for this gun. This is Berthier taking something that was already in existence and adopting it to his design. Steyr actually had the M95 Steyr, which would later be repurposed by the Germans and the Nazis in the 1930s, had a M-block clip as well that you could use in 8x56 MMR. So this is not necessarily a revolutionary idea. It's just taking something that people were doing, granted limited ways that they were doing it, and adopting it to your current cartridge and rifle design. This, of course, would finish, or I should say this would end up in the culmination of the M1 Grand, but of course, instead of shooting out the bottom, it shoots out the top, makes that iconic ping sound. But again, this is just to speed up loading. This is just simply there to speed up loading, and it is considerably faster than trying to load a stripper clip into your Gewehr 98 or Gewehr 88 Mauser. That is for sure. Now, in terms of the caliber, it's very similar to the era. The reality is everyone's kind of rocking something around that 8mm range. The obsession with large bore calibers among militaries would continue all the way up through World War II. It wouldn't be till really post-Korea that we would see that intermediate cartridge. Of course, the Sturmgewehr 44 or MP38 as would bring in that 8mm Kurz and start the path down the intermediate cartridge that the AK-47 and, of course, the M16, the other M16, would ultimately adopt. But back then, big bore calibers trying to go punch through clothing and barbed wire and all the other stuff in World War I, and then that would continue on into World War II. As far as this gun goes, this is just one of those rare pieces of tech that is European, made here in America because of the threat of Europe, a world war, I guess I should say, in the moment. It's very cool, very rare. They did not make a ton of these. The fact that we have something like this, it just continues to show you why you should stop in here at 2FIC Tactical. We have stuff like this that come through the door all the time, and it's we're blessed. we're blessed to have historical guns. We also have about 40 or 50 guns on display at any given time that go back to the 1860s. If you guys are ever in the area, please check out our Second Amendment Museum. There's uniforms and so much on display there that it's really cool. It's something that we are very proud of here. If you like stuff like this, again, please like, comment, subscribe, share amongst your friends. Go over the Patreon. Make sure you go over the Rumble. Again, if you have something that you think would be really cool on the channel, reach out to us. We will certainly try to get it and put it up. That's something that we are always excited about. There's never a shortage of historical guns out there. It's only whether or not you can get your hands on them. And unfortunately for me, and I guess fortunately for my wife, I cannot own all of them. So I will be looking to you guys sometimes to help fill those gaps. But I'm very excited to bring you guys this Berthier, Remington-made Berthier rifle. And, of course, we have the M16 behind me. It's kind of a joint video, I guess, on that. But, again, until next time, guys, we'll see you on the next video.